Right, welcome back to part 2 of watching me hack away at the Z1090. And the previous video we did some basic setup with SMS and some high-level qualifiers. For this video I started doing my stuff and forgot to press the record button, so I've already done this bit where I created the bpx.next.user entry in RACF that'll allow us to use auto JIT and auto UID for our users that have an OMVS segment. You can see the OMVS stuff in the little purple screen over here. By setting this way, all our groups start with this number and all our users start with this number. It is some form of today's date. So I ran this job and that worked. Then I created a job to add our first user group. I called the user group set DevOps and I gave it auto GID. And if you take a look at the output for that job, where you see the same command again, you will see that it was auto assigned this GID number. Then, just to make sure that auto git worked, I created another group called for fun, and that got another number, so that definitely works. Then I started to work on the user creation job, and then I realized I didn't start recording. But we can't do this quite yet, because before we do the users, I decided I wanted the ZFSs that occupy the home directory for the users to be auto mounted. For that we need to do some stuff in the USS side of things, which is the purple screen right here, that we can't clear because these settings are still not properly. We probably have to do that in /etc/profile. For now we will say that our terminal is an Xterm, and maybe, yeah, that works. So we're going to set up auto mount, which means that the system will mount ZFSs on a specific mount point, like kind of sort of like a just-in-time mount. So it will mount it once it's accessed, and once it hasn't been accessed for a while, it will be demounted again. In order to have that done, we need to have an auto.master file in etc. auto.master, which is not there, but we're going to put it there now. And we're going to say that we want, insert mode, the directory /home, give it a couple of spaces, to be managed with the file called /etc/home.map. Probably. Save and quit. That does the trick. Clear that. Then we need to edit this file called /etc/home.map. So we better go there, home.map, and tell it what we want it to do. Well, we want a couple of tabs, everything to be of the type ZFS, and we want it to have a file system. This is where we need to be careful. We want to make it uppercase, and we want to lowercase that, like that, uppercase the name of our file system, or at least the directory that we're going to access in USS, and we want that to be in a home.zfs. Then we should also specify how we want to mount it. We want to mount it read and write. We want to keep it online for, let's say 60 minutes after the last access to the file system. We want it automatically unmounted, and then we want to delay that with like 10 minutes. That should be all good. So that defines our, let's see what we have. Yeah, you can't really see that on this tiny screen, but we have the user, the home dir, and the auto mounted thing. In order to have auto mount start, we need to edit rc dot, not .d, but just the rc file, where all the things are being started and set up correctly. And maybe just at the end, yeah, let's not do this. Let's sleep. We're gonna make sure that we start auto mount here by executing user sbin auto mount, and maybe give it a little auto mount started like that. So just to get back to our home.map, it means that every time that we access a file in the /home directory, so like a subdirectory of the home there, it will try and mount a file which is named whatever that directory name was, .home.zfs. Right. So back to the auto.master. If we go into /home/something, it'll mount. Let me show you. It's just vi home. Would that work? Of course not. Home.map. Home.map. It will mount the file name whatever we put there, .home.zfs. Alright, so back to our user. We have our user definition here. For the user ZDOHK. The default group is ZDevOps. This is the owner user. This is the username, which is me. Initial password, the default account number in TSO, the default logon procedure. Here's our auto UID again. I'm going to give it a home dir of /home/ZDOHK. So therefore, over here, that would mount the ZFS in uppercase ZDOHK.home.zfs. Initial program bin sh. We're making sure that nobody can access my files. We're also making sure that I get to access my files. Making sure that everybody can read the ZFS. We will close that down a bit more afterwards. We're going to make sure that this user is allowed to use the ACCT accounting code, and we're going to refresh everything. Then bring this up. We're going to define an alias to our master catalog, just to make sure that we can create files in the user catalog, and that kind of covers the alias, just the same way we did it with the ZDO.star datasets in the previous recording. Then, just because we're going to have an OMVS segment and want to work in OMVS as well, we kind of need, I'll just copy this, let's make it a bit nicer, copy these two lines, I'll copy these two lines, what did I do, after here, and we're going to do the creation of a ZFS. That's going to contain our home folder, so we're going to create a ZFS. That's been done with ID camps as well. Give a little comment line that says create the ZFS for the home folder, smiley face. Then we need to make sure that this has some output. Again, it's sysprint and not systsprint. Sysout equals whatever we put in the job card, and we need some control statements for ID camps, where we're going to define our ZFS. So we're going to define basically a VSAM. We're going to define a cluster, which is called, we need to make sure that the name of that VSAM file is ZDOHK.home.zfs. Again, make sure that this bit here matches with this bit over here in the auto mount mapping file, just so you don't have any issues there. We're going to have to specify what kind of VSAM it's going to be. it's going to be a linear VSUM. Cylinders, the size will be, let's start with roughly, what we say, 50 megabytes, and then 10 of those. And we're going to make sure that it's shareable. That kind of finishes up what we need to do to define the ZFS. But of course that is no good if it's not formatted, so we're going to copy after here, and we're going to format the ZFS. Formatting the ZFS is done with a utility called IOEAGFMT. IOEAGFMT. Is that the correct name? Just checking my notes here. Yeah, that should be good. I think it's shorthand code for aggregate format in the IOE sector of things. We're going to give this some extra memory. Let's give it 0 megabytes of memory. That usually works. New line. It needs a parameter, and the parameter is that we are going to format the aggregate called zdohk.home.zfs. Let's do that in compatibility mode. Make sure we get some output in case things go wrong. This out equals the class we used in the job card. Does it need anything else? Yeah, it uses an std out probably. Sysout equals whatever, and maybe we have some std error messages that we want to see as well, and that will then make sure that our ZFS is properly formatted so that we can actually use it. But now of course we need to make sure that this home directory is actually there, and that it's also accessible by that user called zdohk. So we need some tiny little bpx commands, shell scripting, whatever you want to call it. I'm just going to copy these two lines here again, copy that there, and we call that, I don't know, we're going to call it permbits. We're going to use bpx batch to execute our commands. We want to see some output, and we also want to see some std outs. dd sysout equals that thing as well, and std error messages we want to see as well. And now we're going to specify the commands we're going to execute. Well, we're going to execute something in the shell. We're going to go change directory to /home/zdohk. Of course, this will only work once our auto mount facility over here has been activated. So we need to do that before we submit this job. We need to make sure that this directory is owned by me in the group DevOps /home/zdohk, and maybe we want to make sure that it's only accessible by me and not by the group. So that will kind of set up our user. Before we can submit this thing, we need to make sure that auto mount runs. So I'm going to head on over to the USS side of things, which is the little purple screen you see here. We're going to get out of this thing again. Did we do this thing? Yeah, we did. So we're just going to make sure it starts now as well. Copy that over, paste it in, run it. Of course we didn't create the home directory, which probably should be in here too as an initial setup in our job. So probably, no, we'll probably just do it manually. So we're going to say mkdir/home, and we're going to make sure that it's 755/home, and maybe then we can start auto mount. Now it's all good. So now that we activated auto mount, it means that every time we access a subdirectory of the /home, it will, let's bring up the file again, home.map. It will mount a ZFS called whatever we're going into in uppercase .home.zfs, which, check, double check, perfectly matches with the ZFS we're creating right here. So fingers crossed. Maybe a double check. Check, check, check again. I think it looks good. I think it all looks good. So we're gonna submit this, see what happens. Ah, that's a boo-boo. Let's see what happened. Probably something trivial. Statement 11. So we're gonna go to statement 11. Oh, this is on page. We don't want that. We want it on cursor. What did we do wrong here? That, comma, parm equals something or the other. I think it should be good, but maybe we've just made a little boo-boo with some continuation things. What did it say? Excessive number of positional parameters on the exact statement. Yeah. So let's check again. Excessive number of positional. Oh yeah. I always seem to forget the equal sign. Let's submit it again. That takes quite a bit longer, and we do get some error messages. Now, what would that be? Let's see, we can see that the first, second, third, the format of the ZFS went alright, but our permission bits step kind of failed. So let's see what that did. We won't see it here because there's no output, or is it maybe in the output queue? Nope. So let's see what happened. Successfully created, blah 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 blah. Everything went alright except the last bit. So what did we do wrong here? We didn't put a space there. We're going to save this for now. Then I'm just going to quickly double D's and double D's. Submit and cancel the last step. It still goes wrong. It's so nice to see me struggle, no? What happens here? What happens here? Don't know what happens here. Edit this. No, let's go here and do an SJ in front of it to see what we've done. cd/home. Oh, it all looks good, right? Let's see what we've got on the USS side of things. We do have a home directory. There's nothing here. That's funky. Let's go here and out of here and out of here and see what happens. Set the OHK, enter. Well, the ZFS got created correctly. I do see a big issue because it was allocated on the C3 user volume and not on our dedicated volumes that we created. Of course this happens because we forgot to change our ACS routines, that we want to divert datasets that start with this high level qualifier towards our own storage pool. So that's not cool. We're gonna get rid of this thing, delete, so we can rerun, get rid of that thing. We probably don't need to do a rerun of the user creation. List users at the OHK, I think. Yeah, see, that's all there. So yeah, that's back to the ACS routines, and compile them, activate the ACS and the SCDS so that this dataset will no longer go here but towards our ZDO volumes.